Well, hello. Welcome to Embrace Live. It's great to be back. We had a little break last week. To be honest, I went away for a few days with my good lady wife, which is amazing. Have a bit of a break. And so we are back, obviously, tonight with another episode of Embrace Live. Now, actually, I've been looking back and just seeing how many episodes we've done, and I think we're up to 31 episodes. This might even be our 32nd episode. So if you've been with us for all 32 times, well done, you deserve a medal. If you're first time tonight, then great, thank you for joining us, even if you've kind of picked up on a few. And of course, it's always great if you can tune in live. And, you know, obviously we want to make this as interactive as possible. And so it's great to have people who are tuning in live. I can see that Sue has joined us. I'm just looking at my other monitor over here. Good evening, Paul. The wonderful Paul Saxton has joined us tonight, which is great. Paul is coming to speak on this Sunday morning at Embrace Church, Darlington. We're really looking forward to having him. And if you're if you're available, come and join us. You're very, very welcome. Hi, Jill. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, Tony. So as always, please help us out and just share the stream, the link with the stream to, your friends and family online, however you do it. Put it all over your socials. Hi, Chloe, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. It's great to see you, and thank you. Appreciate that. And so, let me introduce myself, actually, before we go any further, because this might be your first time. So, my name's Dave Dixon. I have the privilege of being part of the Embrace Church Darlington family and part of the leadership team there. And it's great that I get to do the church thing, live life with wonderful people who are in part of church over in Darlington. However, I always say in each of the episodes, and if you don't believe me, go back and watch all 31 of them or about that, because I always talk about the church. Really, there's only one church, and that's church with a capital C, okay? And that's God's church, his bride, okay? And then what we've got is loads of fantastic different flavours. I like to call them flavours. The church across the globe meeting, worship and sing the praise and live out, the mighty name of Jesus in their communities and kind of what that means to have a relationship with God and what that means for different people. And I love these, these episodes because we get to meet people from much further than Embrace Darlington, from the church all over the region, the UK and beyond. And I'm working crazily behind the scenes, and I've got my little notebook just here of dates and things like that. And I'm really excited to say that we have got almost every Wednesday, almost, bar a few, filled up from now until the end of July, okay? So I want everybody, please, 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 okay, make sure that you set your reminders and try and join us live on a Wednesday night, 8 till 9, thereabouts, about an hour. We're trying to limit it to that, okay? The time always goes really, really quickly, though. And so if you can make it live, brilliant, but you can always catch up. And of course, it's great that you found this via the Facebook Embrace page, okay? But we also obviously want our YouTube channel as well, and I do post them to there. Listen, what would be really helpful, if I can just ask you to do this as well, is actually just go to our YouTube channel, just search for Embrace Church Darlington, and help us, by subscribing, because we would actually like this address, but you need 100 subs to be able to do that, all right? So it really helps us. We're not quite there yet. So if you, can do that and help us subscribe, then that would be brilliant. Just head over, hit the subscribe button, make sure that you like the videos, and hit the bell, and then you can get the usual kind of notifications when we post anything live on there, all right? Or anything new, in fact, actually. Okay, so tonight's guest, I'm really excited about this, and I know Pete Glasby, we're looking forward to meeting him in a moment. In fact, we'll head over to him in a moment just to say a quick hello. I can see on my other monitor he's just grabbing a quick drink. It looks like it's in a mug, but I won't ask what's in it. I don't know, I don't want to make it sound like he's got a problem or anything. Sorry about that, Pete. He's laughing. That's all right for you. And so we'll go over in a moment just to say hello. But, I'm really pleased that Pete can join us tonight. I know he had other commitments, but he's been able to shuffle things around. He's a busy fella. And so it's great that he's been, able to join us. In fact, let's head over and just say a quick hello. Hi, Pete. How are you doing?
Hey, Dave. I'm good. Good to be here.
Good stuff. And we really appreciate you for joining us. And just for people, as they soak in your background, I can see that you are one of those musical types. Is that right?
I don't know how you can tell looking at this screen.
Fantastic. So it's going to be great chatting with you. And like I say, we're just going to have a bit of an informal chat. We always want to make it interactive. So if I head, back over to just to here, we always want to make it interactive. So please comment on the posts, and we can share those. We can put them online, and we want to obviously respond to those as we go through. And I promise, I know I can talk. I know I can. All right, but I promise I'll even let Pete say a few words, because really he's the main man that we want to kind of hear from tonight. So, as always, we try and make these interactive sessions, like you say, and try and hear people's stories. It's always fascinating to see. And hear people's stories about how they came to know Jesus for themselves and to enter into a relationship, to kind of make that decision to commit in their lives. And so, it's going to be great to hear that. And I know that Pete is also a very talented musician and serves in lots of different ways, and it'd be great to hear about that. So I'm going to play a little kind of intro video, which is our Worship Leader series intro, and then we're going to get straight into it and chat with Pete a little bit more throughout tonight. So here we go.
Praise the Lord, all my soul. Forget not what he's done. Forget not what he's done. Praise the Lord, evermore. He surrounds you with his love. Surrounds you with his love. Yeah. He surrounds you with his love.
Hello, Pete. All right, how are
Hey,
we doing?
Dave.
Are we good?
Good. Yeah,
Good stuff.
Thanks, good.
So let me just say to everybody, first of all, if you were eagle-eyed, and you should be, if you've seen that, because I've used that intro a number of times before, and let me just say, just to reassure you, Pete, I have got permission to use the intro and the kind of footage and stuff like that, because I know that, Pete, you're part of the Taking Ground music team, aren't you? All right.
I
If you've
am,
got
yeah,
eagle eyes,
yeah.
like you say, you might have spotted Pete there, rocking his axe, his guitar as part of the worship evening and in that footage and things like that. So, Pete, it's great that you can be here. Like I say, thank you for giving up the time. I know you had other things you had to juggle, but it's great that
it's okay.
you're with us. Okay.
I've been looking forward to it. This.
So, well, you haven't heard what the questions are going to be yet. Like I say, it's dead informal. But, what I want everybody to do is ask the questions. And I've got one later on, which I will give you a little bit of time to think about. But I'll tell you what that is. It's not going to be too difficult, okay? I'm going to post this on already. I paused then, and I'm just kind of see. I talked about these other commitments, but hopefully you can see what Mr. Paul Saxton has actually just... he just wanted to come on and just check actually you were doing what you were saying you were doing. So yeah, okay.
Just
so
checking
he's
I'm
legit.
not slacking off. Well, Paul is in my community group, so
Yeah.
keeping checks on me, keeping me accountable there, Paul. Good man.
So that I can verify this is not pre-recorded. This is live. He's not just slacking off like you say. So really pleased. Thanks to the community group that he leads. For giving up the time tonight as well. So. Pete, it'd be great just to, give yourselves a bit of context first of all. Like, obviously many of you, have the privilege of knowing you, and I've known you for a number of years now, and we've kind of our paths have crossed from a musical kind of point of view and things like that. But I'm conscious that there may well be other people who are tuning in for the first time who've not met you before. So, just for a minute or two, just give us a bit of context of who you are. Are you married? What do you do for a day job? All of that kind of stuff. Share as much detail as you want to.
Great, yeah. Well, I'm Pete, and I'm part of Tees Valley Community Church, also known as the Oakwood Centre, in Eagles Cliff. I am married. My lovely wife Sarah, and we've got two boys who are 6, just about to turn 7, and 4, Jonah and Zeal, and they're a lively pair, but great fun, great fun. I'm not unfortunately, but my real job is not a musician. As much as I'd love it to be, I'm an electrician. I'm self-employed, so I've got my own business, just me and my apprentice. doing electrical
Yeah.
installation in houses and in shops and stuff like that. So
I'm sure if
And-
anybody's got any electrical work, then it's
Yeah.
well worth getting in touch with yourself. I'm sure you'll be open to that, wouldn't you?
yeah, non-intentional plug there for
No,
that business.
that's totally fine with me. That's absolutely fine. And I know as well, as well as being a talented musician, you're a talented electrician. And there's not many people I would trust to have my lovely, Tiffany, her name is, which is my name of my, not because of the engagement rings or the diamonds or anything like that, but of my main guitar, my electric guitar, who's coming your way soon because you've said you're going to do some work for me and just work on the electronics because I'm not clever enough to do any of that kind of stuff. So, this is a little bit of kind of checking you out as well. Paul's checking out that you are where you say, I'm just checking you out and say, no, I'm completely happy. You've got the work, don't worry. But if anybody else has got any electrical needs, I'm sure, Pete can sort you out there. So get in touch. All right. So, I just want to shout out to your lovely lady wife as well. I've known for many years because she's worked in education and I met her a number of times because I work in education myself. I met her a number of times years ago as well. So, hello, Sarah, and hello to the boys as well. Like you say, they keep you busy, I'm sure. That's probably why you've maybe got what looks like a man shed behind you with lots of gear and stuff like that. Is that a little kind of opportunity to have a bit of peace and quiet on occasion?
Well, peace and quiet, I'm not sure. Probably it gets louder when I come in here, but it's peace and quiet to me. So
yeah,
it is. It's my man cave, if you like, or Patchwood Studios, is what I call it, because it's basically fitted out with patches of random pieces of wood that I could get hold of. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is my man cave in a location I won't disclose on the internet.
Fair enough, I understand. Okay, but again, we're gonna talk about, I'm sure, obviously your experience, musically. Obviously that's I'm sure that's it's no exaggeration to say that it's a big part of your life, and again how you. I don't want to put words in your mouth, and it's up to you to confirm this, but, how one way that we can worship God and express our worship to God, and so, being a musician myself, I'm so thankful for the gift of music that God gives many of us, and, I get the opportunity to express some of my worship through the music, which is a really special and, important way to be able to do it, a really powerful way. If it wasn't a powerful thing, then that's, why would the devil try and hijack it as much as he can? But he's, he's lost. Obviously we have the victory, and we're going to, use music to worship God as much as we can. And like I say, it's only a small part of our lifestyle of worship. But there we go. So I tell you what, it'd be good to kind of kick off with your story. So now we know a little bit about who you are, and like I say, it'd be good to kind of, if you want to talk us through your kind of story, Pete, about. And I always ask the same kind of three questions, really basic. What was life like before you got to that point where actually, what were the circumstances where you made a decision to follow Jesus and commit your life to Him? And then a little bit of, what's life like been like since then, And I think we've established, because these are the same kind of questions I ask everybody, I think we've established that actually, contrary to maybe some people believe in this, that when you become a Christian, life doesn't become all roses and, fantastic, no problems at all, and you just sail through life. I'm sure that's not the case. Maybe you can relate to that. So why don't you tell us a bit about your story then, and then we can maybe chat a bit more about music and stuff.
Yeah. So I've kind of always believed in God. So I was born into a Christian family, if you like. My parents became Christians before I was born. Good friends of Terry and Anne Young and those kind of crew who were about. So as you grow up, you grow up just believing what your parents believe and listening to what they tell you. And I believed in God since before I can remember. I did an apprenticeship when I left school as an electrician.
Right.
Actually did my 4-year apprenticeship and then finished that and decided to do a year in a Christian music college called Nexus in Coventry, which is fantastic year. You can do more than 1 year, but I just did one. And did vocals and it's Bible studies as well and looking at worship and stuff. And that was amazing. But the end of that year, I kind of it was a funny one because it was an amazing year, really focusing on God and focusing on getting better at music. And then just the end of the year, I just started just questioning everything really. And it was that point I was like, well, hang on, do I believe in any of this? You know, what evidence have I seen of this myself, you know? And so from there, really, it had been a journey of building my own relationship. I wouldn't say relationship with God, but, you know, building my own like picture of my own faith in God, and not that being based on just my childhood and my family and stuff. And it's just, I mean, there's been some amazing things that have happened to me that have just been God on my life, and you know, work wise and stuff, and just God just affirming Himself with me, you know, confirming Himself to me, and I can honestly, you know, I can honestly say God's just been. My granddad, who wasn't a believer, would always say, "Oh, Peter, you always seem to just fall on your feet." And I know that's not the case for every Christian, but I'm just like, it's God, Granddad. It's I pray, and God comes through, and not always in the way I want, but you know. So a bit about my kind of since coming back from Coventry. Here's a cool little story. Just tell me if I'm going off on a tangent here. But, here's a cool little story. So I was back from Coventry. I'd had a couple of months just not doing much, just still living with my parents. And I felt like, right, it's time to get a job, start paying some board and lodge again. And I'd spent a couple of days putting, you know, application forms in, filling application forms out for various places.
Yeah.
And just getting fed up of writing all the stuff that's on my CV in the application form, and then having to include my CV. And I just, you know, hardly a prayer even. I just, you know, just said to myself, just said to God, God, just get me a job. And it was a morning. Everyone else was out at work, and within about 10 minutes, a guy who was a contractor, ran a contracting company on the site at the steelworks where I did my apprenticeship, who dropped me off once when I was an apprentice, like 4 years prior, knocked on my door and said, said, "Oh, I'm glad I got the right house. I remember dropping you off here. We lost an electrician last week. Can you start on Monday?"
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, if that isn't God, then what is it? And you know, so nice little story there.
What an impression you must have made on him if he was like dropping you off, and then he comes back 4 years later and offers you a job. Wow.
Yeah. But I mean, and you know, that guy, we didn't see eye to eye at all. You know, he wasn't an easy person to work under, and but you know, in that, God gave me, you know, I can look back through the couple of jobs I've had working in industry and see how God's used them, even though it was from God. It wasn't easy.
No.
And it was, you know, there was not, you know, kind of conflict or stuff I had to wrestle through with other people, but I can see how God's used it to build me into the person I am now.
I mean, you know, obviously that it's we're shaped by our experiences, but again, like you say, I love what you said to your granddad. It was just God, you know. It's just, you know, again, we enter in relationship. When you said, obviously, you know, you grew up in a Christian home, and which is great, and you know, like you say, your parents were friends with Terry and Anne Young, and Terry's actually featured on one of the episodes previously. So, you know, if you know Terry's well worth tuning into that one as well. And so, was there a moment then? Obviously, you grew up in that Christian household. Was there a moment then that you can remember where you actually thought, "I'm going to make a decision for myself"? Then I just, you know, I'm not like Christian by default because my parents are. Where you actually, you know, had to make a decision. Was it, you know, did you go? Was it at an event, or was it in your bedroom, or whatever? Was there a moment?
There wasn't that I remember a moment like at an event or anything. But I mean, when I got baptized at 16,
right,
and I did, you know, it was a time. Whatever the week I decided I need to get baptized now was, you know, a time when I decided, yeah, you know, I am in this, and I believe in God, and I'm even though this was before I kind of started questioning it all in my 20s, but
Right. Yeah.
you know, I did. Even when I've been questioning my faith, I've still, it's always been from a heart of, you know, God, if you're there, I am yours, and I'm, you know, I'm living for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do remember being, you know, that being the kind of turning point in my heart when I was 16, decided to get baptized and did.
Yeah. There's that kind of public demonstration of your, you know, obviously your relationship with God and everything. Like you say, really special kind of moment, really. And so, and it's interesting, like you said that about, you know, maybe a period of your life, like you say, after coming back from Coventry, and it'd be good to talk about Nexus actually, because I was going to ask you about that and your experiences there. So, you know, 16, you got baptized, and you like you say, you'd start then in your apprenticeship? Did you say then? Obviously,
That's
so
right,
that was a 4 year, and then you kind of went to Coventry, Nexus, and then, but then it was interesting, like you say, you've had that kind of that year-long kind of intensive course and stuff like. And then you said, you know, it's interesting that actually that's kind of raised some questions, and I think it's absolutely normal, isn't it? You know, to ask questions, absolutely is. And, you know, again, it's interesting that that's come quite strongly through the number of stories and you know, chats I've had with people about this. You know, Alan Fraser, who was featured a few times. Alan is, you know, the senior pastor of Embrace Church, and you know, he's when he tells his story, he talked about a time when he had lots of questions. And then, you know, obviously was working through that, and you know, had met Tony, who later became his wife at that point, and so on. And I think, you know, again, I would still say that, you know, I've got some questions still. I think it's okay to have questions, and because we're living this out, and you know, it's good to do the church thing, because you get to be with other people, and you know, and if you know them well, you can say, well, I've got this question. What do you think about that? Oh yeah, that, you know, and you know, again, that's important. It's not like we live blindly, is it? You know, it's kind of almost like we're just
no.
You know, we don't disengage the brain. You know?
Yeah, that's it. You've got to be honest before God, you know, and you know, your brothers and sisters in the church family and stuff. It's okay to ask questions, isn't it? And it's okay to.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the questions the disciples asked Jesus, you know, like,
absolutely,
who's going to sit next to you? Who's going to sit next to you on the throne in heaven?
Love it. Absolutely. And it's been human, isn't it? That's what it is, you know. And obviously life, you know, whether you, like you mentioned, you're working with somebody who you know, very thankful for the job opportunity, and that's amazing. That, you know, like you say, that must have been a fantastic ride home. I don't know what you listened to or you talked about in that ride home.
No, I was at home. I was at home.
Right, but when he give you a lift home,
he knocked on my front door.
Yeah, but when he give you a lift home, he said, and then 4 years later he turns up knocking on your front door. That's impressive. You know, that means it must have been a good, you know, ride home in that car, whatever. I don't know how long it was. Were you know, was it hours or whatever? But anyway. And then, you know, obviously, that's an amazing, you know, God moment. And like you said to your granddad, it's just God, you know, and fantastic. But then, like you say, life isn't perfect after that. And, you know, actually, we come across all different kind of people, and some of them are easy to get on with. And, you know, whether it be at work or, you know, family member or, you know, church member, whatever, it's always fun. And, you know, and we all have seasons, don't we? All go through, you know, the ups and the downs, the mountaintops, the valleys and stuff. And, you know, at these times, it's good to question. You know, it's human to be questioning things, isn't it? But that's when we've got to lean on other people who, you know, in church and do the life thing. You know, like you say, the community group that we mentioned earlier on is fantastic. You know, obviously, you know, being involved in the church. And personally, I always get worried when I hear, and maybe on occasion when people say, oh, you know, I don't need to go to church. I believe in God. I don't need to go to church. And I say, well, you do. You know, you need to be in church. You need to be with other people, because actually, I know I need to be, to lean on them. You know, on occasion, and, you know, they need to lean on me, and that's all about doing life and church and living together, isn't it? And relationship.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's.
You can't underestimate the fellowship of being with the family of God, you know, the church, and spending time together, and what that does, you know, it's
absolutely.
It's
Yeah. So let's get into the music side of things then. So, obviously I'm conscious not everybody who love it. Now this is where we get excited, isn't it? In particular. Yeah, we've done the God stuff. Let's get into music. No, it's all related. And it's I've gone off on one again. All right, I'm sorry about that. But what I'm conscious of is that people who maybe are tuning in or catch up a little bit later on and on demand and stuff might not be a musician. So if you're not a musician, don't switch off now, okay? Because basically, we've said already at the top of the show really that music is such a powerful gift from God, and it's something amazing when at the church. As saints, we gather and we're singing together, And even if you're a rubbish singer, it doesn't matter. The Bible says, doesn't it, make a joyful noise. And I always say the Holy Spirit auto-tunes our worship anyway. So just go for it. It doesn't really matter. You're not trying to impress other people. You're worshipping God. And so, it's an amazing thing that, and particularly when we talk about worship, particularly if you don't do the church thing, and again, you might have stumbled across this episode and thinking, what's all this Embrace Live stuff and this churchy stuff? But it's a big part of when we get together as a church in a service type thing. When we meet together, it's a big part of the service, the gathering, isn't it? That we can do that together, and singing and worshiping through song. Think about it if you want to. Your prayers being set to music is such a powerful thing. Now, we need to recognise, don't we, that that music and worship, sung worship, is only a part of our worship lifestyle, because our lifestyle should be a continuous act to God as worship, isn't it? That's a tough thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I do some of that well, and some of it certainly not well. But that's why we're all on a journey, aren't we? And So let's get into that kind of musical side of things then. So obviously you mentioned Nexus, that you went away and did that music. We'll come to that, but how did your musical kind of journey start then? Were you born with a guitar in your hand and started singing straight away, all that kind of stuff? How did that happen?
No. Well, so I mean, my dad didn't really play much. He played a couple of chords, but he had an acoustic guitar in the house that we never touched really.
Right.
My granddad, my dad's dad, is who we know as Rock and Roll Granddad. he's the one with the musical genes. So he's played in a rock and roll band called the Storm Beats since they were about 21 or something, maybe even younger than that. And I mean, they don't play anymore because they're all getting on. But yeah, in Retford. So I've kind of. And my dad's always been into music. My dad had a record player when we were young, so we used to put on. Me and my brother would listen to like an AC/DC record, a Goodies record. We used to always put the Goodies.
The
on.
Goodies. Go on, we're going back now, aren't we? Wow, the Goodies.
Yeah, he had a few others. I can't remember what else he had now. But so I've always loved music.
Yeah.
I didn't start playing music till I got to play on a drum kit at school when I was in secondary school. I was about 13.
Right.
And so I got into the drums, and then someone from my granddad's band gave me a drum kit.
Nice.
And I had lessons with Tim Hillsden, Sally and
I know
Phil
Tim,
Hillsden's son.
Yeah.
Got lessons off him for a year.
Now he's a drummer. He's superb, isn't he?
Oh, he is. Yeah. He's
wow.
Drummer, Tim. But yeah, I'd been doing it for about a year and getting into it, and then one lesson, Tim pulls out an electric guitar and says, I want you to play along while I play these chords. And it was just, some basic rock, chords. And I was just blown away by what he was doing.
Yeah.
I didn't care about the drums anymore. I was just like, I want you to show me what you're doing there. And that moment, that was when I was like, right, I like drums, but guitar, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. How old were you then?
I was 13 or 14, I think.
Right.
14, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I started, so I think I got a guitar, I got given a guitar, and I got a little amplifier for my birthday, I think, that year, and played 3 hours every night coming home from school, just looking at guitar chords and tabs online and learning all the Green Day and all the skater rock stuff I was into at the time.
Yeah.
And and so I've been playing for about a bit, and then when I was about 16, I managed to start playing for a little worship thing in Hemlington, a church in Hemlington, and met the guys, some guys from a band called Good Question, who were 3 lads working from for Youth for Christ.
Right.
Lead singer who is now Mikey Copeman, who's now leading Darlington King's Church.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we and they asked me to join the band. So I think that was about 4 years. We were doing gigs, every month, going down the country and everything. It was great fun, that. But
Yeah.
my first gig, he's a fun one. My first gig ever I'd done something like 2 gigs as a drummer, and then my first gig ever as a guitarist was supporting Y Friday in a gig in Stoke,
Wow.
which I don't think's that bad,
Yeah.
for a first gig.
Yeah. Let me just let me interrupt there, just because we've got a question. Well, it's not really a question, but Sue there is just going back to the goodies. The Funky Gibbon, was that on the set list for that that gig?
No, it wasn't.
All right,
no.
okay, just checking.
But it was on the record I used to listen to. The Funky Gibbon, and what else was the just the Goodies theme song. I used to like that one as well. And then there was one called "Mummy, I don't like my meat." I used to wind my son up about that because he's a picky eater.
So if nothing else from tonight, what we want people to do is just to go and listen to the Goodies for the classic entertainment value. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So how did the first gig go then with supporting Y Friday?
Oh, it was it was fun. I had this T-shirt. I remember I had this T-shirt that lit up. I had like a little volume thing that bounced with the audio. Lit up. Because it was obviously some digital battery pack that I had in my back pocket. I started playing the first song and the guitar was picking this up, and so you couldn't hear guitar. It was just like just making this weird noise. I was like, what's going on?
It wasn't an effect you had on.
No, it wasn't. But it was funny. And Mike had played a prank on me and gave me some deodorant before going on stage, which was actually hairspray. So I had sticky armpits for the whole gig as well.
Beautiful. Lovely. I love that band banter. That's great. Absolutely.
Yeah,
so we've had, I don't know if you caught the episode, but, if you haven't, again, you can catch up. We had Ken Riley, who's a good friend of ours that I've known for a long time. Obviously was the lead vocalist and guitarist for Y Friday. I'm actually in the pipeline. We're just trying to nail Des down to a date. Des was the drummer.
Oh, nice.
And Gav, I'm trying to nail him down. If he ever returns my call, Gav, I'm coming after you. All right, then I want to try and nail him as well for a date as well. All right, Danny, I've heard is a little bit more of a challenge to get hold of these days, but there we go. So I certainly want to know, their experiences and so on, and Des and Gav that I know well and things. So you started doing these gigs, YFC with Mikey Coleman and others. In fact, actually, I can just kind of post it on the screen here. There we go. Sue's just kind of talking. You may recognise those names.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Kevin Carl.
Yeah, and so where did you go then? What happened then after that kind of stuff? After you started doing those gigs up and down the country?
So that was during my apprenticeship. That lot. And then the band finished. Just it was time for everyone to go grow up and get real jobs, as it were.
Well, Jodie Quick
and
Jodie Quick got married. 6 string, yeah.
That's it, yeah. And so me and Kev, the drummer, and another guy, we had a new bass player by then. We formed a band, and I led that, called Close Quarters. We did a few gigs and stuff, but we were just it felt like we were serious.
Yeah.
We had our musical dreams, but we were just messing on really, but having a great time and
good.
Like, really trying to play well and trying to write good music and stuff. But and did that for 2 years maybe. And then by then it was the point where I decided to go to Coventry and have a year at Nexus. So finished that then.
So why don't you tell us a bit about Nexus then? That seems like a good point to do if we're at that point in your story there, because I jumped on obviously just your social media channels and as you would do as I kind of lead up to this, and and we'll share your kind of contact details a little bit later on and things like that. It's okay, you know,
Oh,
if you're
nice,
happy with
yeah.
that. Just the stuff that you put publicly
Yeah,
anyway. And so obviously I saw that you made a link to Nexus, and I thought, oh, that sounds great. You know, obviously I jumped on their site, and you know, I thought, oh, that'd be amazing doing stuff like that. And I wish, you know, a little bit of me kind of was thinking, oh, I wish I'd had the opportunity to do that. It'd be brilliant, you know. But you know, why don't you? How did you find out about Nexus then, and how did you know that year, you know, go? And then you've already said in your story that actually you had quite a lot of questions after that. So that's an interesting kind of year of your life then.
Yeah. So, actually, just the way I went about going to Nexus, I was going to go to Bible college. I think I was friends, you know, Matt Horner, and he'd just come back from King's Bible College then, and I was kind of like, oh, I want to go to Bible college and do that, and so I applied to King's and got accepted. And I remember my mum being like, you really think that's your cup of tea, you know, in a classroom every day, and you know, it's heavy. And I was like, yeah, I want to do it. And I went to Soul Survivor that summer, and they had the Nexus like stand in the big room, right? They have all the stuff, and I started talking to them, and I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. Yeah. So I applied there and went there instead.
Yeah.
And Nexus is fantastic. It wasn't accredited then, but it's an accredited course now, you know, in terms of musical and but it's a Christian, it's a Jesus-based college for musicians.
Yeah.
You can do 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I think it's still the case. And it's just, you know, like a year out as a Christian, you know, it's a year just focusing on your relationship with God, focusing on worship and what that means, and your identity in Christ, and who you are in God, and also you pick, you know, that's why I did singing, because I felt like I was quite confident on guitar, and I wanted to get better at singing, and it really helped me. And you do a lot of that practical and theory for music for your instrument as well, and just I mean, I really recommend it to any Christians or any people who've got, you know, teenage kids who want to do something. It's a fantastic I really recommend it. So,
Amazing. So when you did that, obviously, you know, once that year was over, and you know, again, you kind of honing your craft, you know, developing your expertise and everything else like that, which is, you know, again, you know, totally biblical, isn't it? I mean, actually, you know, I love one of the quotes. Just as I had a quick look on the Nexus website, just about their commitment to, you know, exactly that. You know, it's a gift from God that we need to, you know, hone our craft, and it's play skillfully and things like that, and make it the very best offering that we can give to God. And you know, and that excellence, you know, can be a bit worrying because people have different interpretations of that, you know, and it can become exclusive rather than inclusive.
Yeah, we have to be careful with that word, I think, excellence.
Yeah. So it's a bit kind of loaded in some ways, and some people go, you know, you know. But I think, you know, as long as, you know, I know that when I'm preparing, you know, and you know, picking up my guitar and regularly, and I want to do the very best I can do, you know, obviously in serving God and serving the church and stuff like that. So you know, when you came back from Coventry and you'd done that year, were you then kind of involved in worship? You know, were you at TVCC then at that point afterwards, or?
Yeah. So I was at TVC beforehand, so was there when I came back.
Yeah.
I think I did get back on the worship team pretty straight away. I can't remember, to be honest, but I'm pretty sure that's what I did. Not leading, you know, just guitar really. I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think I was confident enough to stand up in front of 500-600 people and lead at the time, but I'm still not now.
But I do know that you lead. Yeah, absolutely.
Got but yeah, so got back into playing in church. You know, I suppose this is there's only up until more recently, I've always had a kind of you could call it like my selfish dream really in my life, because
Okay.
I've been into music for quite a while, and played, you know, fairly well. You know, there's a plethora of musicians of ability that are way above me, but you know, I've always managed to impress my friends and stuff
Yeah.
and my family, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I've had people tell me, you know, since I was a teenager, oh, you're gonna be famous, you're gonna, you know,
Yeah.
and kind of built these own dreams up myself. Oh, one day I'm gonna, you know, make it as a musician and stuff, and even coming out of Nexus, you know, I still had that, like, that part of my life that was my plan, and that was my you know, I that wasn't giving up for God. That, you know,
Yeah.
it was kind of like,
Right.
uh you know, I still was writing music about my relationship with God, about my life with God in it.
Yeah.
Still very God centered, but really inside it was, you know, that I don't want to. I can't give this up. You know, this dream of mine, the plan of mine to make it. You know, and
Yeah.
really, I wanted my own fame for myself. And so through, really, from coming out of Nexus, being in our worship team in our church, and stuff, and writing my own music since then, and releasing some music. It's been a real journey, and God's really challenged me and turned me around into just, you know, whatever you have planned for me, God, whether it's singing in front of thousands or whether it's just singing in living rooms for community groups and stuff
Yeah.
like that. You know, as long as your name is glorified, that, you know, that's what I want to.
Yeah.
I want to be.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for. I mean, that's you know, again, thanks for your honesty there and your vulnerability, because I think a lot of people can relate to that. You know, again, God has a plan to prosper us, as the Bible says. You know, and again, and we can have our own. I mean, I've already said I'm in education. I'm a control freak. That's why I get into all teachers are control freaks. That's why we get into education. You know, your wife might be able to relate to that. No, surely not. But you know, that's, you know, we can battle with that, can't we? Where we think, well, you know, I want to do this, even in with the church circles, like you say, like, you know, a lot of your music was very God centered and that message and things like that. You know, but even with kind of doing the church thing, you might think, oh, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. But actually, it doesn't work like that. You know, we want to honour it as part of our worship God, and God has a plan for us, and it might be very different to, you know, what we intend or what we'd like to see happen. You know. But that's where we just got to submit, haven't we? Am I right in thinking? Because I was listening, believe it or not, you know, I was listening to your EP that you've posted on Spotify, and I was really enjoying that. And I love your stuff, you know. And I'm not just saying that because we're on screen. I do enjoy it, and I do listen to it.
Thanks,
you know,
man.
honestly, it's really good stuff, and the work, you know, obviously the tracks that you do as part of the Taking Ground team as well. The musicians there, fantastic. I like yours. Your EP it sounds very country. I love a bit of country and western. You know, both kinds of music, as they say, the proper stuff. But isn't the first track on your EP, isn't it about submission in that sense?
Yeah, submission over ambition.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's written out of that, really, just that process of God, you know, just turning my heart around to being, you know, not, it's not about me.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean, it's great. I mean, obviously, I want to encourage everybody just to jump on Spotify, jump on whatever, you know, YouTube, or, you know, whichever streaming service. But, you know, particularly I use Spotify, so I'm going to plug that one. Just search for Peter Glasby Music. I noticed we get the full title of Peter on your channels, you know, so it's... but we'll go with that. So, you know, obviously, and you can obviously listen to, you know, these wonderful tracks. I mean, I love the, you know, which has been out a few times, and last, you know, I was just watching the video again just before we kind of, you know, it came on air, which I'd seen before and heard before. This like December, the track Like December, which is brilliant track, and I love that one. You did a really, you know, it's a really good tune, mate, and you know, it's brilliant. So
thanks.
Clearly, you know, a very talented songwriter and musician and stuff. So. Listen, I'm interested to kind of know, if you like, and I've asked this a few times. I was asking it of Ken Riley, who, like I say, who featured a few weeks ago from Why Friday, who's wrote many tunes. And you know, what's your kind of process for that? Then, you know, how do you kind of do that? How do you know the songwriting? Do you get just the whole song downloaded straight away? Do you get a riff as you're noodling around on your guitar? Do you get lyrics and things like that? You know, what kind of process do you go through on that one?
So what normally happens is I'm messing around on guitar and I might come up with like a little chord thing or a little riff, and I might get like, you know, I'll just sing just garbage over it. Just kind of get a melody, and I might come up with a little bit of lyrics there, but I tend to be too distracted by noodling around on guitar to actually come up with anything decent. And so when the tune is going around in my head, when I'm working or driving or in the shower or whatever, you know, that's when I'm thinking about the lyrics more, and I'm normally thinking about, you know, a theme, or I've got, you know, something I want to sing about, and it just comes to me like that. And, you know, I tend to get a verse and a chorus quite easily, and then have to kind of work a bit harder for a second verse and stuff. But yeah, that's how it works really. And to be honest, for me, I've just been through about 2 months where I've written about 5 songs, just that I'm really pleased with.
Great.
It's just been like a real inspiration bit. But then I've had about 6 months before that where just nothing. And I really realize, you know, that it's only when I'm putting a lot of focus on reading the Word of God, or just, you know, thinking on God a lot, thinking on my life as worship, or thinking on the Bible and stuff. That's when I get the inspiration. That's when I feel like these songs pour out of me. And when I'm just spending more time noodling on guitar or watching Netflix or whatever, you know, it's they're the kind of dry periods.
I mean, like I say, I'm gonna, you know, push people to please, you know, head over to Spotify, wherever, check out your YouTube channel, because it's well worth listening to the songs that you've written, and so that, you know, if you're having a good kind of season of new songs, then are we going to have a new EP, or, you know, new tracks coming out?
We are, yeah. So I've just started getting some ideas down, recording wise. So you're going to be a few months till I put any EP out, but I'm going to try and get a single out next month. So look out for that. And it's not I'll say, I know you said it's country and western, but it's not.
I mean, you're talented variety, you know, it's good. You know, I'm not saying that every song is country and western.
I do love country, and I do love blues. But in England, if you say you're country music, nobody's going to listen to you really, unless they're in a social club on a Thursday night on Western night, you know. But it's, you know, it's got influences from kind of that Americana type stuff. But my newer stuff will be, I'm kind of going for a bit more groovy soul type, but upbeat, you know, and poppy as well. But so
I think you actually mentioned every musical genre there, you know, so that's all right. Just to kind of broaden it out. So I just want to establish that, you know, Pete has got some influences of country, but he's not a country musician. Please, you know, listen to his stuff, buy his stuff. It's great. What about Taking Ground team? You know, when you obviously again another fantastic group of people. First of all, who were also highly talented and gifted musicians, and you know, it's great to kind of, you know, personally have done some stuff previously in different contexts, but also to be part of them leading worship, and, you know, part of the Taking Ground group of churches, which Embrace is, with TVCC and MCC and many others. It's a great family of churches to be part of. So it's great to be able to have the Taking Ground music team, you know, kind of producing, you know, great, fantastic tracks that we can use in our churches and so on. So, what about writing? What about writing there? You know, obviously, and actually, if you think, you know, I've not heard of any of this stuff, well, you have, because the countdown time that we play in, you know, ahead of every, you know, obviously episode is a couple of Taking Ground tracks.
It is.
How does the songwriting go there then? How do you pull that together?
Do you know, so obviously I've had with Taking Ground music, I've mostly done music with Matt and Abby Horner and Will and Elise Horner as well, and Josh Dunkley and some of the others around, you know, TVC and York Church and stuff. And I mean, we have had before, like pre-COVID, we'd had
Yeah.
a couple of times we met up, and I think trying to write stuff together from scratch it's quite hard, really. We've not really come up with anything that way. What has tended to be is, someone's got an idea, or a song that God's put on their heart, and they've written or part written.
Yeah.
And we've had a couple of nights before where we've brought them. Each of us has like shared an idea if we've had one, and then everyone's just give a bit of feedback and like, oh, I think this might be good, or I think it might be good to go in this direction, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it tends to be, it's more someone bringing a song that they've started or they want to do something with, and everyone then feeding into that, which I think works better than us just trying to. I mean, it's different if it's just a time of worship together and you're singing some kind of, you're going to just letting the spirit move and just singing out, not singing songs that are already made, if you like.
Yeah.
And sometimes, things come out of that. And that's, but yeah, it's someone bringing an idea and then we give feedback, or we did have a WhatsApp group, so we'd share stuff on there. And but what a great bunch of people they are. Like, I've learned so much really just in Heart for Worship off like Matt and Abby and off Will and Elise, and just a great group of guys to be around, when you're worshiping
absolutely
with music.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've done little bits over the years, and fortunate to have done stuff like that. I actually uttered the words at one point. Like you say, Tiffany, I referenced my Strat, my main electric guitar. I uttered the words. Actually, my guitar was older than the band lineup. It's obviously I feel a bit like Help the Aged. They roll me out every now and again. So they are amazing people. Actually, it's probably a good opportunity to say congratulations to Will and Elise, who've just had the recent birth of their first child. Yeah. So welcome to parenthood and all of that. We'll see how much you can function with on sleepless nights and things like that. And but it's amazing. Well, congratulations, and I hope everybody's healthy and doing well there. So fantastic. So, obviously, as always, honestly, Pete, we could just chat for another few hours. I'm really enjoying this personally, and thank you again. But I'm just conscious of the time. I've got a timer on my right hand side here, and we've got about roughly, let's say 7 or so, a little bit, maybe we'll stretch it to 10 kind of minutes left. So really what I want to do is I want to do two things, if that's all right with you. I want to kind of tap into your experience then of leading worship and being part of worship teams. Okay, now like you said, as a musician, and we'll even apply this to drummers as well. So musicians and drummers, as always, like you say, and so how to serve effectively within that team, and serve the church. Maybe if you've got some tips and advice for maybe people who are just doing that. Actually, we're all learning. And like you say, I'm getting on a bit, and I'm still open. We should all, every day is a learning day, isn't it? Now I sound like a teacher, don't I?
Yeah.
And so maybe that, and then I've got another section that I've always rounded off with, and this is where I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, which is, and maybe you can be thinking a little bit about this as well. I want you to name your three, if you like, a little bit like Desert Island Discs, your three what you would consider worship bangers. All right, that if you only had to list, so I want you to list those three, and they can't be your own songs because obviously, I know we publicise you enough there, right. But other stuff, maybe country and western, I don't know. And so basically, what about let's think practically then. What about your experience then? If you were giving some experience, advice to maybe someone who's just getting involved in the worship team. Because we want to, tap into your fantastic experiences that you've got, like Nexus and all of that, and your wonderful, being part of the Taking Ground team, serving in TVCC and other places, but writing your own stuff. What would your advice be? Go on.
Oh, I don't know. Well, let's have a think. I think let's come at it from a musical point of view first off.
Yeah.
I would say, don't be afraid. Don't, believe in yourself to play and push yourself.
Yeah.
And I think the kind of what you're doing as a musician in a band is you're serving the song, if you like. You're facilitating, unless you sat on your own worshiping, but if you're in a worship band in a church or whatever, you're, as a band, you are facilitating everyone there to worship, and we want to just lift our eyes to God and see Jesus, not see me on guitar or my singing or whatever, but like just to have that as your kind of as something that you're mindful of. I think it's something that's really helped me to mature, if you like, as a musician.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure I've got a long way to go with that as well. I guess if you're serving regularly on a Sunday, like on a church team, is to, if you can get the chance, try and learn stuff, learn the stuff you're playing, so that when you turn up for on a Sunday, whoever's picked the songs, whoever's leading, can be confident that you know what you're doing and stuff.
Absolutely.
But I think in terms of like in terms of worshiping spiritually, so God's really been challenging me and speaking to me on recently is like wholehearted worship. What does that mean? And I think it's you can be an amazing musician, but if you don't regularly worship, if you like, with your life in the things you do, the things that you maybe feel God challenges you on in your own life, getting up and playing on a Sunday, playing really well, does it even mean anything? Do you know what I mean? If I don't actually give any of my time to God, because here's the thing with music worship, as a musician, it's not a sacrifice on a Sunday morning, really, because where is it? I'm trying to remember the verse, but it's worship is sacrifice as well. And it's if it, in a way, if it doesn't cost you anything, if it never costs you anything, is it even worship? And so as a musician on a Sunday morning, it's just great fun. I love it, and I'm not saying it's irrelevant. God wants us to sing to him. He wants us to praise him. But it's, I play on a Sunday and I play guitar, or I sing, or sometimes I play drums, and it's never a sacrifice for me because I absolutely love it. But I think, it's something to challenge yourself on in your own life is, am I living the rest of my life in worship? And is it when I come on a Sunday, is that just the outworking of my heart and the joy of the source of my joy being glorifying God? I think that's something to me that's becoming more and more important than being a good musician or being able to to get everyone in the spirit.
That's great. I mean, again, it's it's, I mean, that's the most important thing there, isn't it? Like you say, making sure that we are and again, this is why we need people alongside us who we've got a strengthened relationship with to keep us accountable. Because being musicians, we can have a bit of an ego on occasion, and like you say, we are there to serve, going humbly, serve the church, and we don't want to be a distraction to focus on God. We are there to serve, God first of all, but serve the church, and like you say, facilitate people's worship. Now, we can't do that effectively if we're being the big I am and those kind of things. We want to get out of the way, but we want to do that professionally. Things. So again, we've got to lead out of our heart, and then obviously that is got to be. We've got to lead out with integrity. So we've got to be living the life. Away from the platform side of things and away from the lights and then away from the microphone in front of people. Totally agree with that, mate. Absolutely. I love what you said as well. Practically speaking, you said two things, which I totally agree with as well. And tips for musicians, which is, you said serve the song first of all. That's a great phrase, and I love that. And I totally agree with that, because actually, particularly, and you made that distinction, if you're by yourself, for example, you can give it large and things like that, and so on. I certainly, I've got nothing against keyboard players. I'm not a keyboard player. They are wonderful people now, but I've played alongside some keyboard players because I've got such a full range instrument. They're playing every single part, and I'm there with a guitar, and you're thinking, well, where do I fit in? And those kind of things. So, you've probably heard that phrase. The sign of a good player is knowing when not to play. Because you're serving the song, you know where you sit in the team and things like that. And I love what you said as well, is when you're kind of coming and being part of a team, coming on a Sunday morning or coming to rehearsal, then know your parts. And that for me, and I talk a lot about this with the teams that I'm involved with, and I've, this has been said to me, and this is what I've learned as well over the years, and I try to impart onto others is, practice is something that you do individually yourself away. You practice your parts. And then you come together to rehearse them. So, turn up knowing your parts. And it is, I know personally when I have not put as much effort in as I should do, and I come to the rehearsal, I'm thinking, I'm a bit sketchy on here, again, it's that individual kind of practice. But, actually, hopefully turning into a worship team. A worship time. Sorry.
Yeah. I think thinking about this, I think it's good to mention that word excellence because I know that word's been around for the last 2 or 3 years, I guess, in the worship church kind of worship scene, if you want to call it. I hate that word, but it's a tricky one, that, because I think the way we look at that is the way I see it. I think excellence is kind of whatever you're doing for God, if God's given you a gift, a talent, or you're serving in an area in your church or whatever, then put the time in to doing it well, and put the spirit into doing it well. And for a musician, that means learn the songs, try and get better, get better on your instrument and stuff. But at the same time, I think we need to realize that it doesn't mean that that you have to be an amazing instrumentalist. I think I recently read a book by Jeremy Riddle, The Reset, and he talks some fantastic stuff on this. But there's a bloke getting up on a Sunday morning and just singing a basic, simple song to God in an out of tune voice is just as beautiful to God's ears as a 8th grade guitarist playing an amazing solo or whatever. I think it's something to think, when if you are a musician and you don't feel that you're like, oh, I'm not an amazing musician or anything, I'm not good enough to be in a worship team, because I wouldn't say I'm excellent. But it's not, Andy Rose is just saying that it's not aiming for perfection. I think it's more just an attitude. For me, it's more an attitude towards the area that you are serving the church and serving God in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So don't,
absolutely. I always kind of say that, obviously, to bring a sacrifice of praise, offer yourself as a living sacrifice, the Bible says. And, listen, when they, when they offered sacrifices, a lamb or whatever it may be, they didn't go for the old knackered one that was a half dead anyway, with 3 legs. No, they chose the best of the bunch. So whatever we're doing, and it's not just about music. We know that. We're talking much about however we're serving God, we want to do that to the very best of our ability as our act of worship. And it's a heart position, isn't it? It's an act, heart. Not, so, like you say, you can be the most fantastic guitarist I've ever heard in my life. But if you haven't got a heart of worship and you're doing it for the right, then you ain't getting in my worship teams, and that's the thing. So, no, and like you said, we don't want to be a distraction. So we need a certain level of competence, shall we say, with our instrument and so on. But again, we want to encourage people, don't we? We want to encourage that side of things as well. So, anyway, we've gone over a little bit, but I'm still going to finish, and I want this because this is a common feature on this one. What would be your 3 worship bangers then, just to kind of finish off for tonight?
Well, my first one was came to me straight away.
Yeah.
I guess I should start at number 3, I guess, shouldn't I? Oh man.
You don't have to put them in rank order, kind of thing. Just 3 worship.
That's the way you do it. That's the way you should do it. All right, number 1.
Yeah.
right? The one I love playing, and it's not often on the list these days, but when it is, and I'm on electric guitar, I love it. No, it's not that one, Andy Rose. That's one of my own songs. My number one is "My Redeemer Lives" because
What a great
it's
tune.
a great song.
Yeah.
It is, but it is as a guitarist or a drummer, it's so fun to play because
Yeah.
it's like one of the few songs where you can fit a little bit of bluesy guitar solo in there and stuff. And
yeah, absolutely.
That's, I guess, for that kind of thing.
Strong start. What's your other two?
Yeah. Number two, I've got to say, it's probably Rain Down by Delirious.
Yeah.
It's just, I love Martin Smith and Delirious. I just love the depth in the songs he writes. And I love that song. It's a great song. Do you know, I don't really know. I have a number three, I guess, but there's a...
Come on, this is the only moment you've been squirming all night.
Hang on a sec. I've got a list here, and I know
you just jumped on Spotify, haven't you, just to see what CCLI's top 100 are.
Pick the top 100, yeah. Oh, do you know what? It's the refrain. It's the chorus. Who's it by? And I sing it to myself a lot. Oh, God's people singing glory, glory, hallelujah.
Oh, yeah. He reigns.
That one. Newsboys, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Newsboys. Yeah, some old tunes I'm cranking out here.
Good choices. Good choices. Listen, mate, it's been absolutely fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. And like you say, we're over time, so we're going to wrap up. But just before we do that, I'm going to I said I'd show your contact details. So let me just kind of flick across to that screen on there. And these are the ones that, like you say, you put publicly anyway. So hopefully they're still kind of... relevant for you. So
that's fine. That's fine.
If people do want to get in touch, either to chat more about, music side of things, I know that, thankfully as we kind of, the COVID restrictions lessen and we're at that point that, obviously doing a lot more kind of things publicly. I know that you do, kind of the church thing, but you also do outside gigs as well. So if people want to get in touch about that and we said already that your kind of socials are Peter Glasby Music, so obviously on your social channels on there, and if you do a search for Peter Glasby Music on Spotify, obviously certainly you can listen to your great tracks that you've kind of done, and I'm looking forward to obviously the new material when you get that done. So get that Patchwood studio working, and then maybe take it over to Raf or wherever to do the finishing touches or whatever. But
I will.
Yeah.
Raf mixed my EP that's out now, so. He's a fantastic mixer. So
he's an amazing guy, isn't he? He really is.
Yeah,
so, there's the contact details. I'm sure if we just go back to here, I'm sure that you'd be more than happy if people want to get in touch. Obviously, you can follow, on Facebook, etc. Just kind of like your Insta page or whatever it may be. But I've really enjoyed it tonight, mate. I thank you again for kind of giving up your time and certainly with the community group. And I'm glad. I don't know if Paul Saxon's still online, but obviously he did the thing about coming to check if you were doing actually what you say you're doing. So we have responded to people's live comments, so this isn't a pre-recorded thing.
It's
again,
not.
Okay. And, I'm really looking
thanks for having me,
forward...
Dave. It's been great.
Oh, good. I'm glad you've enjoyed it.
Thanks.
I'm glad you have. What I'm looking forward to as well is obviously getting over soon with my axe for you to take and work your magic on there. So not only the music, remember, wonderful electricians. If you need any electrician work, and get in touch as well. So, thank you very much. Like you say, I'm just going to go back to here. Pete, just stay on for a moment. I'll come back to you when we finish the show and we'll have a quick chat just to wrap up things. But like I say, thanks, mate. I really appreciate it. It's been great. Have you enjoyed it?
I've loved it. Thanks for having me on. It's been great chatting. I could chat all night.
Okay. So, just to kind of, wrap up for tonight then, it's been great to kind of catch up with Pete. I knew it was going to be a good show, obviously just to hear his stories and experiences. And like you say, I just want to encourage you, as always, to jump on the social channels and get in touch and follow his, his kind of channels there. I just want to encourage you again, please. It's going to be really helpful if you head over to... to YouTube and search for Embrace Church Darlington. And so, you can just subscribe and do the usual kind of things, like the videos and things when we're getting posted on there, just to keep yourself up to date. But it would be really helpful if you could subscribe because, We need 100 subscribers to get this address on here, Embrace Church Darlington. We're not quite there yet, so that'd be really helpful. Obviously, you can follow us, obviously on Facebook, and you've maybe landed on there already. And of course, if you want to know more about Embrace Church, like I say, then you can head over to our website, and there's lots of information on there. And it'd be great to see you. We meet in Darlington each Sunday. And we'd love to kind of hear from you and kind of meet you in person if at all possible. So, you'd be very welcome. Like I said right at the beginning of the show, I'm really excited because actually I've got people just waiting on a few confirmations, but when they come in, we have got guests lined up until the end of July, all right? So that's every Wednesday night, 8 till 9, or maybe just a little bit after. Embrace Live, people from all over the region, all over the UK. I'm even trying to work on maybe a few that are even beyond the UK. And so all of that, again, set your reminders, 8 till 9 on a Wednesday. Tune in live if you can. If you haven't been able to catch us live, but you're catching up, thank you for doing that. Help us out by sharing, obviously the link with your friends and family online. That'd be really helpful. And I hope you find these sessions encouraging. And just to kind of, Wednesday, hump day as it's known, midweek slump, just give you a bit more encouragement and to hear from you and things like that. So, feel free to get in touch. It'd be great to hear what your thoughts are on the show. Any suggestions, make things improve, any suggestions on thoughts about content, always open to that. So, thank you very much for joining us. Obviously, like I say, my name is Dave Dixon. I'm a part of the Embrace Church in Darlington, part of the leadership team there. It'd be great to meet you if you want to get in touch and to hear from you. All right? Until next week, next Wednesday at 8, have a good week. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.